What's good, YouTube? So I saw The Force Awakens on Thursday and I really enjoyed it, and if the prequels haven't put you off from Star Wars, go and watch it and you'll certainly have a good time. That being said, there has been one thing in the film which has been quite controversial, and that is the cross-hilt lightsaber. Clearly this is just a synthetic sword, but it's a pretty useful prop for this. I'd really like to defend it. I think it's a fucking awesome design. I really do. The only thing I'd like to have changed is having an oval grip rather than a cylindrical grip to help keep the crossguard on line and to stop it veering off like that. That way you know exactly which way it's orientated at any given time. Lots of people have said that those light blades coming out the side are going to be dangerous. You're putting yourself at a big risk of catching your wrist if you end up in that position, which they think inevitably you will do if you're twirling it and stuff. But if you've been training for any amount of time whatsoever, that simply isn't the case. But don't just take my word for it. I did a little test here to demonstrate that it is a lot safer than people think. Okay, so let's test to see just how dangerous the crossguard is. I've put some paint on it, so if I do hit myself with it, I'm going to end up getting my some paint on my forearms. I'm doing the Djam So style of lightsaber fighting. This is the style that I'd like to have seen Kylo use in the film, because it's so heavily based off of longsword fighting anyway. And then I switched to one-handed usage, doing lots of twirly shit, which is the most likely way you're going to hit yourself in the wrist. And yeah, absolutely fine, not touching myself with the crossguard whatsoever. It shows that if you've trained for more than 10 minutes, you're not going to have any problem whatsoever, and Kylo's clearly been training for years. So yeah, if you know how to use the weapon, it's perfectly safe anyway. But perhaps Kylo has some other ways of protecting himself as well. So, for example, maybe there's a sensor in there so that if it gets too close to his own wrist, it simply deactivates the blade. Perhaps he's got lightsaber resistant padding here. Now, there's plenty of different ways he could protect himself, but he simply wouldn't need to if he was competent with using the weapon anyway. Now, there's going to be some level of risk. Perhaps he might accidentally just touch it there, but that's going to do far less damage than if somebody manages to actually hit him in the hand with a lightsaber. And so having that hand protection, the negatives of it would far outweigh, the benefits would far outweigh any negatives. So with no hand protection, very, very easy to hit the hand. When you have got hand protection, it's a lot harder. You have to be able to get right around there or right around there, and it only takes a tiny wrist movement to protect yourself. So I think it's crazy to not have the hand protection, quite frankly. Good reason that virtually all swords have some level of hand protection, even if it's only a tiny amount like you have with the katana. Their hand protection was there for very, very good reason. Hands are one of the most common targets to hit in sword fighting, so it's just absolute madness to not have it. And so, of course, there have been other criticisms on Kylo's lightsaber. You've got a metal piece here, and then you've got the light blades. And some people are saying, well, you could just cut the metal piece off. Well, I'm guessing it's either going to be lightsaber resistant, in which case it's fine, or the light blade's going to go through it, and you're simply going to cut through onto the blade. Perhaps some plasma flies out or something like that, but your hand's still protected. So it's absolutely fine, and even if those bits were vulnerable, being protected here and here is still far better than not having any protection at all. So, that argument is complete bullshit anyway. And then other people have said, well, if that metal bit there is lightsaber resistant, why not have the whole hilt lightsaber resistant? Why not just have it all metal up through those bits? Simple reason for that is that you can use those light blades as a weapon far more effectively than if they're metal. Yeah, if it's metal, you're still going to do a lot of damage if you hit someone with that bit, but clearly they've got good reason for using lightsabers rather than just sharp steel. So having those light blades there is clearly a benefit. Finally, one thing I really don't get, why this lightsaber is getting so much controversy when there's been far worse weapons in the Star Wars universe anyway. So, take for example Darth Maul's sword. So if we pretend this is it, got handle here, blade here. Swords of that design simply don't exist in reality, or not outside of fantasy anyway. Perhaps there's an odd ceremonial sword like that, but they were not used on the battlefield for very good reason. You're limiting your movements far too much. It takes far more practice to learn to use. It would take far more practice to learn how to use a double-ended sword without hitting yourself than it does to use a crossguard without hitting yourself. And you're really limiting yourself. You're limiting your motion and the way you can do certain motions because you're going to end up hitting yourself. And you don't then have the option to extend out and do that, which you would do if you simply had a blade here and a longer handle, or simply a longer blade. Yeah, people did use staff's centre grip from time to time, but then when they had to, they would switch out into a longer attack like that, and you simply don't have that option with a double-ended lightsaber. So to summarise, the crosshilt is perfectly safe as long as you know how to use it. It offers brilliant hand protection, and it offers you more ways to attack as well, and it just fucking looks cool, so there's nothing wrong with the design whatsoever. And Star Wars has produced far stupider weapons anyway, so I don't see why this one is seen as so controversial. So thanks for watching, comment, rate, subscribe, and I'll see you soon. Bye.